Johnny Chaos here, and I got this jacket for $24.90. Wait a minute. No! Top Gun here with you, folks. And although we have the same tailor, I got a good one for you today. So, we're going to look at liquidity providing math. I've glanced it, I've flashed it, but it's available. You can go probably copy the sheet and then deploy it on your own computer so you don't trash this one. I've locked many of the cells, so you might not be able to. You have to let me know in the comments or something. But because I don't usually try to share things on Google Sheets, but I'm doing it. So this is a PulseX liquidity providing refresher course, some math and some how-tos. So on PulseX, where if you're not single-sided staking, the other option that you have for earning, possibly, is incentive tokens if the pool being provided is incentivized. But those pools we're talking about are the liquidity. So you can provide liquidity here. Yep, that's simple. Add it, and you can select the two sides of the pair. Well, how do I figure out how to do that? And do I really want to? Because warning, providing liquidity can easily get you wrecked if you don't know what you're doing. Even with a fancy calculator, this is not some guarantee that you won't just lose all your money. So why would people do it? Well, let's have a look at the math behind it and see if you've got the stomach for it. So on PulseX, like UniV2, use a certain kind of math, which is x times y equals k, and x divided by y equals p, the price, the constant and the price. Okay, so I talk about this quite often, and I put this equation down in a little mini what-if game. That's all it needs to run it for this. This is one asset to a stable coin. Oops, make that equal to that. There we go. Perfect. That's the error I want to see. So here I've set everything to 0. So that way you could assume, let's show you a little something. If we had an asset possibly like Pulse or PulseX, for example, and it started at just snowballing here 1/10 of a cent. Well, we start to see some values take hold. How much did we want to pair in there? Did we put $1,000 of USDC and paired it with $1,000 worth of that pulse? Ooh, well now we're starting to see the pair total value is 2,000. 1,000 on one side of the pair, and these 1 million pulse coins would be worth $1,000 on the other side of the pair. That makes 2,000. Now since it went to 0, we've got some heavy impermanent loss. So we're going to have to fix that end price from 0. So what do you want to see? You want to see what if it goes to the exact same value so we can explain that? No, that's boring. You guys want to see some action. What if this takes off and does a 10x to 1 cent? All right, let's have a look at that. So what happens to the pair? Well, you start DCAing out. You're selling off your pulse for USDC. So you would end up at this price on your side of the pair with $3,162. So, you went up $2,000 of USDC. Also, this pulse you have is also equal to $3,162 worth of pulse. So your total value is now $6,300. You did start with 2,000. Man, it sounds like you're doing good, doesn't it? But why over here, profit, that's the difference. I start with 2,000, now I got 6,300. My profit's 4,300. Okay, why do I have an impermanent loss of 4,600? What does it mean I would have had? What does it mean I would have had 11,000? Well, had I not provided liquidity, I would have had 1,000 USDC tokens. Okay. Well, I also would have had 1 million Pulse tokens. I wouldn't have been selling those things off, and price would have done a 10x. So I would have had $10,000 worth of pulse instead of $3,000 worth of pulse. Ooh, that sound a little bit risky yet? Well, what if it goes all the way up to 10 cents? Wow. That impermanent loss is looking a lot bigger, isn't it? 81,000. Like, I'm feeling all cool because I made 18,000 in profit, liquidity providing, DCAing out. But impermanent loss, if I hadn't been selling those tokens, I would have had 101,000. That sounds kind of nasty. Why would anyone do this? For the fees, of course. For the fees. So what happens with these fees? Well, we've got the volume basically of these fees. So let's say there's $10,000 of volume. Okay. And now our portion of the fee pool, let's say that $10,000 is 10% of the entire fee pool, because it matters. Because that fee rate, that 21%, is of the entire pool. But if I'm providing, well, let's just say like I'm the only one doing it right now, what would that look like? All right. So now you can see, oh, well, that would have got me $10 worth of Pulse and $10 worth of USDC. It would have been roughly $21 of fees that have been collected in this, approximately. And so now we can see, oh, I think I have to redo this math right here. Fees collected. This should just equal, why is it C14 plus C15? I want the B's, that's why. Oh, I changed some things and fixed this, so I forgot to change some titles, because over here is actually the value now. And over here is the number of tokens. That's right. I was toying with this before the show. All right, so there we go. Now that we've got fees, perfect. Profit. I need to add fees to the profit, don't I? So, plus this. So that doesn't really seem to take account or help for it, but volume, that can happen in a day. What if in this period we had like $10 million of volume? Oh, that's 100 million, but all right, we'll have a look at it. Wow, wouldn't you look at that? Wouldn't you look at that? $210,000 in fees. That's making the profit look pretty savvy. Why did this end up a negative? B11. What am I doing here? B11. So the would have had minus D7. Minus the 20,000. I haven't really taken into account fees into this yet. That's cute. So, impermanent loss, all that. Okay, that's fine. But then I still need to plus the fees, really. So, impermanent loss is now non-existent. I had gain because I made fees. Wow, that was pretty impressive amount of fees. Because I own 100% of the pool. But what if other people were competing with me? Now I only own 10% of the pool. Oh, now I'm looking at impermanent loss again. But what if all that volume happened and the price only did a 10x? Now we're starting to see some balance. So the idea is, if there's going to be a lot of volume, but the price isn't going to move a lot, you can recoup a lot of fees. That's one way of earning money on liquidity. But you can never be sure what the price is going to do. It might shoot up, it might come down. You might have some hunches on what's going on. But with the way that crypto works, and suddenly in a matter of weeks, you can have like 100x or 1000x happen to something. Whoa, that really changes things. Like if we see 1000x, that's $1. Wham, that's impermanent loss, even with all the volume doing it. That gets pretty nasty. Because you could have had a lot more tokens at this new higher price. So providing liquidity, ideally when the price is moving within a range, and you're like, all right, it's moving within a 2x kind of thing. Let's see what a 2x does for impermanent loss as opposed to profit. Again, this is with a whole bunch of volume in the pool, but just a 2x, and okay, so really I haven't lost very many coins at all as opposed to what I had, and I've added some USDC to make up for it. But now, because of these fees collected, well, I lost in this scenario 300,000 coins out of here, but I made 5 million worth of fees, possibly. Like, this is approximate ballparking. I'm not sure this is how the fees will actually be collected and distributed, because they're in a percentage of the tokens collected at the time of the swap, not these values that I'm putting around. So I'm not sure I'm doing the math 100% right here, but this is an approximation, so you can have some kind of idea how this mechanics work, how you need to balance out. So, wow. Well, if I started with 1 million and now I have almost 6 million, I made out like a bandit. So even if we drop this down to 1% of the fee pool, 500,000 tokens with the 700,000 tokens. So I'm 1 out of 100 out of the proportions if we were all putting in the same amount of money. And now, okay, I'm almost breaking even with the tokens, but I've gotten some extra USDC through fees and through this side of the pool. Okay, this is starting to be a little less scary, but that's a lot of volume during only a 2x, 100 million. So hopefully this is giving you an idea. Like, providing a lot of liquidity requires a lot of volume unless you're trying to game the system in another way, because you're actually okay with the impermanent loss and looking for impermanent gains. So, I mean, asset to asset gets a lot more complicated. That's why that's over here on a bigger calculator. So we'll stick with the simple one for now, if you're getting an idea here. So again, we're going to leave these starting prices intact, but we are going to look and say, well, what happens if we were to get up to, say, let's say we get up to that 10x again. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a way to really look at this too well other than messing with the original amounts, which starts to mess my whole tracking of the impermanent loss. But let's say at this point, the price gets all the way up here. And, okay, well, I've made it a bunch of tokens through the fees. We'll say with that, we'll amp it up even to like $1 billion worth of volume, since like Uniswap can do that regularly. It's not actually that unachievable. All right, so 1 million tokens I've made sitting here swapping liquidity while it battled its way up to this price. So now that I'm all the way up here, I decide, wouldn't it be interesting if I added to these pools now? So I take some of these fees now that the price is stabilizing, and I dump them. I dump them in. I dump in the USDC. I dump in the Pulse, and I add more liquidity as the price is topping out. Well, why would I do that? Because now, basically, I'm DCAing out. Because something I haven't really looked at is, what if the price goes the other way? Bam. Price just dumps absolutely dumps at launch. So I had 1 million Pulse tokens, and now I've got 31 million. I had 1,000 USDC, but now it's only 31 bucks. Like, what just happened? Well, that hurts pretty bad. Let's wipe this back out for a moment so we can see. Like, impermanent loss this time around is looking and realizing, well, really, like, I have now no USDC. Like, this is worth $63. I had $2,000 worth of assets. Like, profit wise, I've taken a huge pump. Crack in the head. But even if I hadn't listed it, like, okay, well, the whole worth of my Pulse would have gone down to $1 and it would have had 1,000. So impermanent loss doesn't make as much sense here unless I start to think of it like impermanent gains, because Pulse is going to go up, right? I mean, I believe in it. Is that why you're watching my show? You believe in it. So if I provided liquidity and I saw my pair went out like this, well, hopefully there would have been some volume to make some fees so I can play around a little bit more during all this chaos. But I would pull liquidity at this point. I would take the pair down. Why don't I divide it by 30, leave $1 million and $1 in there, and I'm up 30 million tokens all of a sudden. And then my pool, I would move this over to the current asset. So the current price would have to be the starting asset over here. So, that's still not right, is it? I don't know. Not enough zeros. Yeah, not enough zeros. What is this crazy coon doing? Well, like I'm saying, we leave this in the liquidity pool, but it was 31 million. So we've taken 30 million Pulse. And we're just going to sit on it and wait now that price is crapped out. And then price is going to do this thing of a 10x or even a 100x. Let's get some numbers we can work with again. Something we can see. All right. Bam. So, all right. Well, now I've lost so much Pulse, I'm down to 31,000. Well, I did take 30 million aside. Wow, okay, and I have 30 extra USDC, but I've been collecting some fees. So now that the price has gotten all the way up here, I think it's going to do one of those crypto 75% corrections, dips. So wouldn't it be a great idea if I provided liquidity now and dumped it in? I want to get that 30 million in. So, all right, why don't I crank her up? So technically 31. We're back up to full liquidity now. Oopsie doodle. Oh, that would be after the price got up here, so that's why I got to bring this up to here now. Dump in. Oh, that's right. I have to dump in more USDC. Hopefully I've been collecting a lot. This is where it gets more complicated. I might have to rejiggle to balance and even just get 3 million back in here. But now I believe that price is going to go back down. I'm still not balancing these right, but you can play with this calculator on your own. But because I believe price is going to go back down and do one of those 75% corrections, there we go. Well, now that I provide extra Pulse at the height, again, while it's crashing, I'm raking up even more. I'm collecting more through providing fees. There'll be a different amount of volume through the price change. And again, when I think people are about done selling, I don't know, like at various points in a chart, like around here, maybe the liquidity would get pulled a little bit and start helping the price go up if I were a benevolent whale and I believed in the system, the ways that I would do the game. Because I believe in this token, I basically provide more liquidity every time I think the price is topping. I DCA into that coin and provide cash for people to get out. bye suckers, I'm taking your coins. And when it's bottomed, I run away with my coins so they're actually mine and still leave some liquidity. And then I can see the price go up a lot easier because there's less liquidity to wade through. Okay, and then at the top, well, I had all these leftover tokens. I can add more liquidity with some more USDC, sell off a couple tokens if I have to, benevolently just a few while the price is topping, and add extra cushion for all the people that want to run away so price stabilizes and doesn't drop as fast as it should. Seems pretty reinforcing. If you can be a big whale, you can almost guide price. Like, now's a good time to pump. Look at the economic forces. I don't know what kind of whale games people would play, but I'm starting to see, okay, there's a couple that make sense. But you'd have to actually have some idea of when the market is bottoming and when the market is topping. You'd have to be able to pull Richard Hart stunts to game the system to get in and out, providing extra and more liquidity. But the beautiful thing about this is if you're wrong, you got a time horizon, like in the next 3 months it's going to go down this much, and the next 2 weeks it just keeps going up. Well, oopsie doodle, I've technically been ZCing out, but I've been selling at a price I thought was a top and more. So I've been DCing out at a profit. Like, this is another way also to sell out of your token without shocking the system and dumping it off, is to provide liquidity when the price is going up. It's a nice calm DCA out. If you don't want to shock the system, it'll slow down price action going up, but you can make plenty of money, or vice versa. So again, no matter how much the price shifts, because I mean, the price could stay exactly the same relatively. Like, let's just say for whatever reason you provided liquidity, hardy har har, from this date to this date. For whatever reason, you got in right here and you've been holding till right here. Well, the price is the same for months, but the regular volume on Hex usually does some pretty decent volume. I think that's in tokens, but still, that's tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars a day for months, for hundreds of days. Okay, well, that's millions of dollars. Okay, so it literally did millions of dollars of fees in this time period. There's a wonderful example. Price happens to be the exact same as when I set it. Okay, well, that's nice. So again, in this theory, I had placed $1,000 in liquidity, and 10 million has run. Okay, price has stayed the same, so I still have the same assets, no impermanent loss, but I have made fees on top of that, even though I only hold 1% of the pool. Those fees, that's where market making really comes in handy. So the more volatile, the more fees you're going to make, the more profitable this is. The incentive token is just a little extra gravy to try and get you to make fees in another liquidity pool. Like, well, no matter what, you're making a fee ratio, but if you come over here, you get some incentive token too. So make it more liquid over here, please. Okay. Hopefully you're kind of getting this. So the what if game over here basically runs token price, and a little formula that you can look at if you really get interested in it. But I try to make this as simple as possible, providing asset to stablecoin in 2 points of time. I make 3 or 4 points in time, but you can roll the math over and keep it going to make more points in time or to interface it. So over here, I have asset to asset, because what if I don't want to use a stable coin? I don't trust any of them, even liquid loans, because I'm just approved. Okay, all right, fine. You don't understand. You don't want to trust them. You want to use Pulse and PulseX, or Pulse and IMD, or Pulse and whatever, Pulse and something. So asset to asset, neither one of these are stable locked in any trading pool or any oracle in any way. Well, calculate that math gets even more tricky, doesn't it? So, well, the simplest way for me to do it was calculate the math against a stablecoin for one asset. Do it again for the other asset. So these are kind of value placeholders because these assets will have different prices. And then I can lock the two of them together into their final asset trading look. So, all right. And in case you're curious about what's going down, no curtains. You can see the math running. That way the code's not just behind the screen. You're not just trusting the mad scientist math. You can check it yourself. You can crunch it yourself. So up here, this very top line is not locked. So you can set a starting price of token 1. And then this is still for token 1 an ending price. And a starting and an ending. That way you've got your points in time. So this is token 2 and token 1. Beginning price, end price, beginning price, end price for the 2 different assets. It'll run them through the calculators for the price functions. Then the fees being collected. Yeah, I think I wiped this out completely. That's a lark. So that means I need to drag all this over. Yeah, because before I was trying to figure out, like, how do you know how many fees were collected of each token? And I'm like, oh, I figured that math out. Control X, Control V. There we go. Simplify the math just a little bit. That's simple. Yes, it is. So again, starting price of both assets and the amount of each side of one side of the pair. So if you're going to put 10,000 pulse in and 10,000 whatever else, making 20,000 in total, just put the value of one side of the pair, 10,000. Okay, that's the size of the pair. Then again, like the other sheet, we now have a volume place, so you can track the volume between those 2 pairs. Say it's PulseX and Pulse. And then you can even put in and you need to put in the portion of the pool that you are providing. Maybe it's closer to 1%. Oh wow, that changes the amount of fees collected there, doesn't it? It really, really does. I'm just assuming that you get equal amounts of both sides in the volume to make it simple. So I split the total amount of fees collected, ideally through that percentage, and put it here. Of course, again, I'm tracking the value, not the tokens. So this is not accurate. This gives you a rough idea. This won't really be the fees you collected. It's my hinky way of kind of illustrating the math without really understanding what way it works, because I haven't looked at the smart contract and seen exactly how they allocate it. So in here, I'm like, all right, let's assume that the fees, if they're going to make 29% and the volume was this much in value, then they made this much in value. That's 0.29% of that was collected in fees. Okay, 76% of that goes to the liquidity providers. Okay, track, and I track it all in value. And then, well, that value was made out of 2 types of tokens. I split it in half. So that value made would have been $2,200 off of $100,000 of volume. Okay. So then at the current price, that value would be this many tokens. Now, those tokens would have been collected at different prices. That's why this is not accurate. This just is kind of like an end state snapshot. Like that's a value you were siphoning, and then boom. But really, you were siphoning tokens the whole time. But I've done this math in value, so there are some inconsistencies. You may even be able to improve upon it, because I didn't really understand fee collection until recently a lot better. I just understood how the liquidity pool moved in gaming the impermanent loss, but I was like, I don't get how the fees work. Well, I've got a better idea how the fees work. I now know the value of the volume that's collected at any given day with any given price. So yeah, these token numbers are not precise, but they give you a rough idea of what you would be able to kind of collect in tokens. Very loose, very approximate, because of the way it's calculated. But there you go. So how much, and PulseX over here will tell you how much liquidity you own in the pool. Oh yeah, I gotta connect my wallet. Thank you. Oh, what is MetaMask doing now? That's right, it's asking me to sign in. Go, dummy wallet, go. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Connect wallet. Try this again. Thank you. Alright, so I can see these LPs. Can I? Oh, that's right. I have one unstaked, I think. That'll be good. Let's go over to pools. Nope. Sorry. Liquidity. Haha. There we go. Here's my pair. There, share of the pool. This is a ridiculously small pair. It won't give me any numbers less than 1/100th of a percent. So if you're providing less than that, we're not going to tell you how much of the fee pool you're holding. You're going to calculate it yourself because you're too much of a small fry. So yeah, apparently more than 1/10,000th of the pool in order to actually have it calculated for you. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. And then, all right, you can take this number, though, for whatever you've produced and pop it over here in the portion pool. And then volume, well, over in the info, you can take a look at any given pair. Top tokens, top pools. Here's the pairs. So where's PulseX? There we go. Volume for the last 7 days, 100 million. In 7 days. Wait, what? Yeah. Oh, 100 million in 7 days. How much did the price move in 7 days? That's a lot of skin in the game. But I didn't have 1% of the fee pool. I had that or less, which makes me sad. Oh, yeah. 0.0001. This thing, every time I try to make it a small, anything lower than a 1, it loses its percentage stuff. So yeah, that's not a lot of fees for me because I'm holding such a small portion of the pool. I maybe made $20 in fees with 100 million. Less than, because I don't know, some number less than it won't tell me. I'm not big enough for the system to care. And I did not provide $10,000 worth of liquidity. I was lucky if I provided 10 in USDC. So that's why that number is so small. I'm sure it's much, much smaller than that. My actual numbers are very pathetic. I could run through some testnet numbers if I had some test tokens, but I don't, alas. So this calculator is available from a website. Let's hit the back button. Let's go there. No, I've been clicking back and forth too much. There we go. There we go. howtopulse.com/top-gun-hexadium/ There you go. That brings you to this little hidden gem page on howtopulse.com. You scroll down past the video and here are the quick links. So, liquidity providing math. Google Sheets. Right here. Okay? That last link out of this whole bunch. Boom. Takes you to this math. You can go, you can copy it, you can play with it. Please don't assault the sheet. I may have to pull it if people aren't nice because I don't have the whole thing locked. I think I've got this area locked, but these boxes should be open so you can play with the variables. This one I don't think should change, but you can calculate it yourself for the portion of the fee pool being collected. Maybe you're not looking at the same thing that I'm looking at. But the asset to asset, I have that built in. I don't have that fee separate. I could make it separate for everyone if you wanted to calculate it for other dexes, but this whole thing is built for PulseX, so you can have to wing it with close approximations with the fees, but the actual liquidity pool, the price, the range, the way it'll skew, and what your size and ratio of the pool will look like, those snapshots are 100% accurate out of the what if game. Just the fees that you collect, I had to kind of ball it in there a little bit, and I didn't add the incentive token to this because you can just add the incentive token to your profit amount. So the fun thing I did program in here though was, is it providing a liquidity a good idea for you based on loss and gains and fees? It'll say yes or say no depending on the numbers you put in this top row. So I hope this helps people understand liquidity providing on PulseX. I may even do closer math on Uniswap v3. I don't know if I really need to. I'm going to try and keep these a little shorter. This is my idea of shorter. I'm not going to go into any other topics or any other tangents. That's right, you get a gold star. We've actually made it to the end. This calculator is out there for you to see. The sheets are locked so you can't edit the important parts. You can edit the variables. You may be able to just copy the whole sheet. I'm not sure if editing disables that or not. So if everyone is really nice and behaves, I may even put out copies of these sheets that you can edit and can take and copy the math out of. Have fun with these little ones. They're not my big math. This is just a little how-to calculator. Math that I think should be easy, but some people are like, but why can't you spell that? And I'm like, grr, it's not that easy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's how you just felt when I said that about the math. Okay, I'm sorry. But yes, you did make it to the end. We're just looking at liquidity providing for PulseX today. So until next time, stay frosty.